Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Called Out Church. Thanks, everybody, being online. Might look a little bit different for everybody online. We just had to shift some things around, so it'll look a little different, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and go to the Lord in prayer. Here we go. Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning. We ask that you put your words in my mouth and let me speak what you would have known this morning. Father, we thank you for this message. We thank you for your scriptures, and we ask that you help us to understand them to their fullest. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so I need my clicker. I think the screen just went off, didn't it?
It went off while you were praying.
Okay. And there it is. So, we are talking God's seasons and His rest. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and just jump into this immediately. We're going to be in Ecclesiastes 3. We're going to be in Hebrews 4 and James chapter 1. Those are the three books we'll be in this morning. So if you want to mark them, get in them. But we're going to go ahead and jump in at Ecclesiastes 3, starting at verse 1. And it says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven." And what we have to stop right there immediately and understand that not everything in this world is forever. Okay? We have to understand that we're supposed to walk it out a certain amount of time, certain things. And a lot of people get stuck, right? They get stuck and they think, I'm supposed to be here in this place from this day forward. But as we all know, life doesn't work that way. But people get so caught up in just gravitate to and hold on to specific things. And that right there is the reason that we all are struggling so much. We struggle with the ability to let go. Right? Let go of the season that you're in and grab on to the new thing that God has for you. Right? Because if you continue to hold on to the things that are of old and in the past, you can't grab that new stuff, right? So, with that thought, let's continue on. So, verse 2. "A time to be born and a time to die. Pluck what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to gain and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace." Very simply put, right? Everything that we do, we have to do it when it's appropriate. Right? God has a specific time and place and way for you to be operating. Right? You're supposed to be here when God says to be there. You're supposed to act the way that God wants you to act while you're there. Right? But if we're not operating in that understanding of things, we're only operating out of self-interest, number one, right? And sometimes we can be too late. Right? Because you cannot plant seed in the fall and expect it to come up in winter. It just doesn't work that way, right? So there are specific times that God has set aside for you. And I'm not saying that you missed your boat, right? And you'll never have another boat come around again. Usually how God operates in these things is He brings things within the appropriate season and time of your life. If you just fall short, if you just miss it, you're going to have to be patient at this point. Right? Because God has to line things back up for you for it to be appropriate for you to handle it when you can handle it. Otherwise, you're going to fail. You think, oh, right? A lot of times, see, in my military career, I tried to force things when it wasn't the right time. And guess what ends up happening when you try to force it? You go backwards. You have to redo things, right? You're trying to cram something in where it shouldn't be. You're putting a round, right, block into a square hole. It don't work that way. Matter of fact, we should turn that around, right? A square block into a round hole. That don't work. The other way around, it might fit, but it won't be full. You know what I'm saying? So, everything we do, right, we have to be connected with God in what we're doing, because He is bringing about the things that matter and when they matter. And we have to learn to let them go when it's time to let them go. But there is one thing that lasts, right? Why is God putting us through some of this stuff? Why is God having us walk it out the way He's having us walk out? Just for it to be over. You ever thought about that? For all this just to be over, why are we doing that? So let's carry on. So in verse 9 it says this: what profit has the worker from that in which he labors? What good is this? All this stuff I'm doing, what good is it? Verse 10, I have seen the God-given task that which the sons of men are to be occupied. Now this is Solomon, right? Solomon wrote this, wisest man that's ever lived. Okay? And the one thing that he is understanding in the things that we do, there's only one thing worthwhile in your life. And that thing is to be occupied with the things that God has for you. You think is so important. It's the stuff that He says is important. So let's keep going on that. Verse 11. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Ugly duckling, right? Starts out ugly, grows up to be something beautiful. A lot of times we want to be pretty right away, right now. No, it's not your time yet. Right? Because why? There are some things that God needs to teach you in order for you to be that beautiful creation that He has. Otherwise, you become conceited in your young age and you don't appreciate the things and the struggle that it took to get where you are. You don't, right? That's self-entitlement. I deserve this. Why? Because I didn't do anything to earn it? You follow?
The first part of growing is roots.
That's right. It's the ugly part of the plant that's got to grow first. You got to fix the ugly before the beautiful can come out. Okay, so let's keep going on that. So He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, He has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from beginning to end. You don't understand how this thing is going to end. You don't understand why you're in the struggle that you're in. Only God knows that. So what's your job? What's your point in all of this? Verse 12. I know that nothing is than to rejoice and to do good in their lives, and also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. No matter what you have going, what season you are in your life, good, bad, right? Are you struggling? Do you have it good? Wherever you're at, God has placed you there for that purpose, time, and way, right? Whatever you are going through, you've got to realize you're there for a reason. And you have to rejoice in that reason. Why? All of this is bound to go away, right? The seasons change. But what does not change are the lessons that have been given. The things that you are being given right now, those lessons extend past the season you're in. Learn what you need to where you're at, right? In your struggle. And then carry that lesson forward. The things that you learned will go with you. But let go of all the baggage that you no longer need. I don't need to hold on to all this old stuff to keep the lesson in my heart. I know what's right. I know what God taught me. But why am I holding on to all this other stuff that's going to weigh me down in the next thing that God has for me? Let it go. Right? Learn to let go. Sometimes you've got to let go of good friends even to get to that next point in your life. You've got to learn to let go of that stuff. But I want to keep it. It's good memories. Good memories. Memories are memories. The things that are in your heart are in your heart. You need something to look at? Right? Look at hoarders. Why do they keep all that stuff? Why do they keep all that stuff? For what? What good is it doing you? Nothing. All the good memories are actually inside you, but you hold on to things like the things are the thing. No. The good stuff, let it go. Right? It's no longer good for you. It's preventing you from being who you're supposed to be with Christ.
Chris says, preachers go.
So, I want to really focus on one thing right here. All right, I know that nothing is better for them than to rejoice. No matter what situation you're in, you need to learn to be happy in it. You can't learn to be happy where you're at. Why do you think anything on this earth will make you any happier than you already are? You don't know how to be happy. So, James 1 says this in verse 2. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Man, I told y'all before we even started this morning, y'all pray for me. Right? I'm having to be faithful, and I'm having to walk this thing out, and all the things that are coming up against to prevent us from even talking about this today, right? I'm having to have some patience with it and know that God has something. My faith is being tested. You could see that this morning, right? It's okay. I didn't lose it, right? Huh? Don't say yet. It ain't going to be yet. There ain't no yet.
I was playing.
Oh, I know you playing, but we need to go ahead and talk about that, because we're going to speak life over this thing and not death. And we're not going to put negative things out, right? Because, no, I cannot be that way, and I do not want to do that, right? That does what? It breaks down everything that God's trying to build in me. Right? So, I have to allow that perfect patience to come through. I've got to bite my own nature and say, knock it off. Right? And here's the funny thing. It's like a little circle thing, and the only thing that can break it is God. Because me trying to be patient aggravates me, which aggravates me, right? And I have to stop and think at that very second and point. I need to be happy. I need to rejoice in all of these things that are coming against me, because it is helping to produce better patience. God, come in and help me stop this cycle of insanity. Right? It always comes back to Him. You can't do this alone. And you end up realizing that the life-giving Spirit is the only way to rejoice. The only way to be happy in this life is to be connected to God. That's where your joy comes from. You see all these people walking through and being tested and doing things, right? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. If you ever say that, You need to bring it to God. You have to. Easier said than done sometimes. It's so easy to forget when all you see in front of you, right, is muddy water. What you don't realize is all the jewels and things that are on the just mixed in with all of that cloudiness. You don't know exactly where to grasp, but you need God to clear the water so you can see. That's Him. Only He can do that. Nobody in this room do I know that can separate dirt from water by just splashing around in it. The more you try to clear that water yourself, what happens? The muddier it gets. Right? So, we have to rely on Him to help bring that joy into our lives and remind us of the things that really matter. Right? Step back from the situation and go, okay, I'm about to lose it. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm not. There's God waiting there going, you gonna let me try? Or you want to keep splashing around? How's that working for you? Right? Anybody ever hear that in their head? How's that working for you? It's not. Right? We all feel like a 6-year-old kid again. You know? And here comes wisdom. Here comes God just walking in with all that wisdom. How's that working out for you, kid? Let me help you out. Why don't you take your hands off of this? Why don't you grab this and start walking? Right? Let go of that old season that you're in. Grab this new one, and you'll be much better off for it. I'll take care of that. You with me? So, that's what we got to do. We got to let it go. Learn to be content and happy. Learning to be content and happy, rely on God for that. He is your happiness. He's put you in a season to learn something very, very specific, right? If He needs to increase your patience, get ready to be frustrated. Right? Dagummit. So back to Ecclesiastes 3, verse 14. I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever. You're in that season because He needs to produce something that will last forever. You're where you're at. You're struggling. You're in happiness. You're in all these different places in your life because He's producing something in you that will last for eternity. Why struggle against it then? Why not just go with it? Why not just come back to the point of going, God, what are we doing? What do you have for me? What am I supposed to do? Sometimes He'll say, sit down, shut it, be quiet, hang out for a second because I'm working all these other things out in the background that you have no clue are going on. Sit down, shut your mouth, and wait.
It says, be still and know that I'm God.
There we go. Be still. How are you going to know to be still? When do I know to turn left and not right? When do I know to go straight and not back up? Did you even ask God? How's that working out for you? Y'all with me? So, allowing yourself to be in the seasons that you're in your life, you have to come back to Him and say, what are we doing? Oh, we are producing something that will be forever? Okay. So nothing can be added to it and nothing can be taken from it. You can't fix what God's already doing. You can't take away from what God is already doing. Why? Because it is within His perfect will. If you're struggling and being beat down by life and going, I just can't win, I just can't win. How many times did you go back to the winner, the one who walks in victory, and say, what I got to do to win with you, God? Me doing this by myself, it ain't working out. Bring it back to Him. Okay? So, God does it right here. So we'll just go through it one more time. Verse 14. I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be added to it. Nothing can be taken from it. God does it that men should fear before Him. You've got to come back to the point of realizing you can't do it without Him. Where's your joy? It's in Him. He does it to prove a point. You need me. You have to have me. Do you want to walk in victory? Then you need me in your life. Push me out, watch what happens. Push me out, watch what happens. Why? So that you should learn to fear the one who made you. In that fear, that can be interchangeable with respect. Right? Children should fear their parents, right? Respect their parents. It's not a terrifying, cowering type of fear. No, it's realize where everything that you have, all your blessings, where do they come from? Him. Turn your back on Him and walk away from Him. You're walking away from all your blessings. You have to understand who sustains you and gives you life. You only breathe because of Him. You only can think what you're thinking right now because of Him. He made you, gave you your own mind. You can be as mad as you want to at your daddy when he gives you a spanking, but he does it for your own good. He is trying to produce something that lasts what? A little bit? No, forever. Right? So, do you want to be crooked and broken and just not what you're supposed to be forever? Or maybe He puts you through a season which will test your patience, will frustrate you, to produce something that is much better inside, that is worth more than anything. Why? Because it's forever. Shoot. Verse 15, here we go. That which is already been and what is to be has already been. And God requires an account of what is past. Watch this. Y'all ready? We're going to try and break that down a little bit better. Hebrews 4, you ready? Therefore, since a promise remains of entering His rest, let us fear lest any of you seem to have come short of it. For indeed the gospel was preached to us as well as to them, but the word which they heard did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in those who heard it. So, Paul right here is talking about, you heard something, right? But what good did it do for you? Now I'm gonna come back to that other point in a second. You just got to give me a minute to, break this out. All right. So, the gospel was preached to this person and this person, but one accepted it in faith, and one just was like, "What nonsense is being spoken right now?" Right? We have to believe in the gospel and the good news and the things that we hear, because this is what connects us in that relationship with God. If you have no relationship with God, where's your joy? Where's your hope? Where's the understanding? There is none. Right? It just seems like everything is random. Everything.
It's all false.
It's all false. You think you know the truth, but it's all based on lies. Right? So let's keep going. Back to James 1, verse 5. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who is without reproach, and it will be given to him. I don't understand, God. Help me understand. Verse 6. But let him ask in faith. Faith. With no doubting. For he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For let not that man suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. I don't care where the solution to my problem comes, whether it's you or money, God. I just want my problem solved. There is no faith in that. You just going to anything and grasping on anything. You just that little baby crying out for mama because you don't know what else to do. But as soon as you're saved, you go, woo, that was close. You don't even think to yourself, where was my salvation? What actually helped me through that? A lot of people get tricked into thinking, that was me that got out of that. That was me that got through that season. No, matter of fact, you're still in that season. You haven't moved from it. And you're barely getting by. Right? You're barely getting through it. However, the person that asks for wisdom in faith will learn the truth of things. Right? God will give it to you, an understanding of here's where you're at and here's what I'm trying to produce inside you forever. But it will only happen if you go to Him in faith, not a I'm in trouble, save me. Are y'all following? Right? A lot of people just run to God only when they're in trouble. He's not a fetch dog. You don't tell Him, go fetch, bring me my sanity, bring me my good stuff, bring me my blessings. No. Sometimes we got to walk through some stuff and He's going to allow you to suffer and struggle through it until you realize what He's trying to produce. He's trying to give you true wisdom in who He is. He is the everything for you. Are y'all with me? He's the one providing the joy. He's the one providing provision. He's the one providing. And when we forget that, He's going to let you sit there for a minute until you figure it out. Don't have wisdom, right? My daddy says something and it is true to this day. You're going to be stupid, you better be tough. If you're going to be stupid, you better be tough. Why? Because life is going to beat you down. And until you get to the true wisdom and the truth of things, the life-giving Spirit that will show you the true way, and until you stop doubting what He says is the right way and stop relying on what the world says, right? Stop doubting. Stop being double-minded. Stop just running to whatever seems to fix the situation. Stop taking Band-Aids over a sewing kit. Right? Let Him sew you up and fix it. Stop just slapping Band-Aids on everything and thinking it's going to be okay. Stop sweeping things under the rug so that it all piles up under there and eventually it just comes out anyway. Stop. Go to God and allow Him to fix the things that are dirty on the inside. Let Him take that ugly duckling and turn it into a swan. Right? That can only happen with true maturity and wisdom. He's the one that holds all knowledge and wisdom in this world. Go to Him for it. Right? So let's come back to it. Hebrews 4 verse 3. For we who have believed do enter that rest, as He has said, so I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter my rest. Why? Because these are the people that did not rely on God. They did not believe in faith, the gospel that was preached to them. So He swore in His wrath, right? They said, I don't need you, God. I can do this on my own. And He says, they shall not enter my rest. You want some rest? You want some end to that struggle? You want an end to the bad season you're in? Have you believed on Him in faith? You're not going to receive your rest unless you go to Him. He's the one that provides, right? He provides the rest. Keep getting kicked? God, save me. And believe He will. Not just anybody save me. God save me. Get me to the other side of this. Let me learn what I need to learn in this season so I can be a better person forever. Right? Although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. So we're coming back to that point. Sandra looking at me cross-eyed, right? What did that even mean in Ecclesiastes? I'm going to bring it up one more time here in a second. So, from the foundation of the world, it was finished. Since the beginning, God's work was finished. It's all over but the crying. Here we go, verse 4. For he has spoken in a certain place of the seventh day in this way, and God rested on the seventh day from all his works. From the very beginning, he was done. He put into motion everything that would lead to you being here now in this room. He put it into motion. He knew you would be here. He was finished on the seventh day when he rested. You follow? So, the whole plan is working itself out. He lives inside eternity. He's already in forever. You follow that? There is no time for him. Everything he has done, he has already finished it. He's already seen the end. He started it at the beginning for us. We're just walking it out. Okay? Now, watch this. So, God rested on the seventh day from all his works, and again in this place, they shall not enter my rest. He already knows who's going to receive him and who's not. Why? He's already watched it happen. He's already at the end of all of this. Why? He exists outside of time. He is not bound by time like we are. He can rewind and fast forward and watch this whole thing play out. And he knows exactly what you're going to do and what you're going to choose. He knows when you're going to pray. And he knows, right? So how do we know that all of this is working out like this? You go to him and pray yet? He allows you to sit there in your season and struggle until you realize, I need to get out of this season. How do I do that? And you start searching for the answer. And that answer will always lead back to one place. It always comes back to Jesus. It always comes back to God, who is your provider. I want to be happy, God. How do I do that? Well, number one, son, we need to talk a little more. We need to have some more conversations. We need to start getting right our relationship before we can proceed to bigger, better things for you. Because right now, guess what? You can't handle the blessings I have for you. You can't handle the good things that I want to place in your life, and you're just going to throw them in the mud. Jesus himself said, do not cast your pearls before swine. Why? Because they're going to stomp them in the mud. God can't give you all the blessings that he wants to give you right now because you're not ready. You're just going to stomp them in the mud. We got to realize that. And until we realize that, we can't start praying correctly. God, what would you have me do?
Can't hear right.
Can't hear right?
Not used to his voice.
Can't see right? You walk around cross-eyed and deaf. Right? We think we understand this world. This world thinks it can teach us something. It can't. This world's only here because he made it. He understands how this thing works as a whole, fitting all together. He sees the end from the beginning. He already watched your life play out. And as he was making this plan in eternity and forever, and before he hit the play button, he said, well, Joe, I see you're going to try and force yourself into a situation right here, so I'm going to put this roadblock right here. You don't deserve it yet, son. You're not mature enough to handle it. Until I figure that out, try to get around it, try to go over it, try to dig under it, right? He won't move it. Not until I realize and say, Daddy, I can't get through this wall without you. Can you please move it? I've tried to dig under it. I've tried to get over it. It's infinite in its size, to the left and right, up and down. I can't dig that far. I can't climb that high, and I can't walk this far. Can you please move this wall? It's too big for me. Right? We have to realize sometimes He allows the things to happen. He allows the enemy to come against you so that you will come back to Him. He allows it. He's not the one punishing you, but if you have chosen the world, guess who is the master of this world? Satan himself. Right? And if you choose the world and saying, Daddy, I don't want you, He's going to say, okay, go get you some of that world then. Let's see how it works. Is it working? Heck no, it ain't working. That's the worst decision I've ever made in my life. That's what we all end up saying. Once we get the wisdom of God in us. Right? So, okay. Back to the Ecclesiastes, right? So we see, I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing taken from it. God does it that men should fear before Him that which is already been, and what is to be has already been. It's all over but the crying. Since the foundations of the world, God set the plan for you in motion. He saw at every opportunity He could. He said, no. I better put this wall in front of you before you run off that cliff. Let me build the bridge on the other side before I remove the wall. Sit down, be quiet, and know that I am God. I am preparing the way for you. Right? That's what He's saying. I am preparing the way for you, but you can't see the hole you're about to fall into. So since the beginning of time, He put this stuff into motion for you. And He put the things in place. And when you go back and you look at your entire life and you see the things that God allowed to happen in your life, and you don't see why He did it, you will then. I see what He was trying to produce in me forever. He was trying to produce something forever in the season that I am currently in. Until we all come to an understanding of the season we're in, we will be in it. Because we haven't learned what we're supposed to learn. We haven't done what we're supposed to do. And you're going to be right there until you come back to the point of going, God, what would you have me do? That's how it goes. That is how it will be until you learn. Right? You can't run before you walk. Right? And you can't walk before you learn how to crawl. There's steps to this. Right? No baby comes out the room running a 100-meter dash. Learn that stuff. There is foundational understandings to everything. So until you get to the point where God can build on that foundation, you're not going to move. The cornerstone being Jesus Christ Himself, right? Until you receive Him, you will have no wisdom and knowledge. You will be operating in the foolishness of this world. Right? So He's the starting point. Let's get a foundation. And now we can move on to things. And these things that teach us what? Forever. So it comes back to that. I'm here now because God's got something for me. Remember that. Remember that specifically. I'm struggling because I need to. Who in their right mind actually likes working out? Nobody. But then when you flexing in that mirror going, oh yeah, that look good. Right? Yeah, because you know you all do it. Shoot. You with me? You sitting there going, that was a struggle. I didn't want to pick them weights up all them different times, but you know what? I'm glad I did. I'm healthier for it. I feel better. There's all these things that are produced for the better good of you in that exercise, right? How much better does God have for you? In the seasons that you're in, they seem to stretch on forever. Just that one little workout. You mean I got to do this again for it to actually mean anything? God has something for you. Struggle through it. Persevere. Be determined to figure out what He's trying to show you. Right? The only way to do that is to build that relationship with Him. Comes back, as James was saying, to the faith thing. Without faith, He can't do anything for you. I'm trying to provide for your forever, but I can't even help you because you have no faith in what I say. Remember when we were all teenagers? We're listening to mom and dad talk and we're like, they know nothing. That's what we're doing to God on a daily basis. You know nothing, God, I've got this. Right? It's ridiculous. So, that which is and what is to be has already been, and God requires an account of what is past. It's all over but the crying. He knows how this thing is going to work out. He has placed everything in your life. He has things you haven't even experienced yet. He's already got a plan to teach you. You going to participate with the lesson plan, or you just going to do it your own way? Okay.
I don't know if it's Jeremiah 29:11 or 11:29. It talks about, I have a plan for you, and it is a perfect plan.
I have a plan for you, and it is a perfect plan.
This is just fitting into the plan.
Right.
The deal. And it's our fault that we ain't listening.
Right.
The plan's there. But we just get off the blueprint that He's drawn out for us, and here we are.
It's kind of like all those classes, those self-paced classes that they have right now. If you haven't realized this yet, right? Even Paul refers to our salvation, right? And our work for God after that. He refers to it as a race. Here's the finish line. You going to stop halfway through the race and not finish? Or are you going to do whatever you can to get to the end? Right? Are you going to win the race? And it's against yourself. Right? Understand and know that. That race is against yourself. The whole thing about the self-paced classes, right? You're going to finish the class. And on top of that, are you going to have an A? A B? A C? Right? You know what I'm saying? Everything, right? Let me come back to it real quick. And God requires an account of what is past. Where did you stack up in the things that you walked out? Did you go through with the lesson plan? Did you pay full attention, and were you diligent in your study? You follow? God's got a plan for you. And it's a perfect plan if you would just follow the plan. So, Hebrews 4, verse 6. Since therefore it remains that some must enter it, the rest, and those to whom it was first preached did not enter because of disobedience. Now he's talking about Moses walking through the wilderness for 40 years. Right? Why? Because of disobedience. They didn't listen. So they never got their promised land in their lifetime. Why? Disobedience. Verse 7, again he designates a certain day, saying in David, today after such a long time, as it has been said, today Do not harden your hearts. I don't want to work out. I don't want to go with the lesson plan. I don't want to run my race. I don't want to do what you say is best for me, God. I don't want to eat my vegetables. Right? Every single one of us does it. I don't want to. That sounds hard. It's supposed to be hard. If nobody has told you yet, it's supposed to be hard. If it were easy, right, what would be produced forever? A soft, malleable, right, just squishy. Shoot, man, I'm going to be hard as nails. You know what I'm saying? I want to be tough. I want to be resilient. I want to be unbreakable. Come up against me and go, "Oh, that's the Son of God." I don't think so. Do you follow me? I can only be forged and pushed into that way if I allow God's plan to work in me. It's your choice. What do you want? A lot of people in this world tell you the wisdom of this world, oh, that Christian life, that's soft. Y'all just, love each other, love each other. Do you know how hard it is to love people? Shoot. Especially when they do you wrong. This ain't about you. Right? It's about you allowing the love of God to be produced in this world. Selfishness? Sure, that's all about you, but you're going to stand alone. Why? Because it's about you. That's what selfishness produces. Not a family. Not a together spirit. You know who has that attitude? Satan. Me, 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 me. I want to sit on the throne. Right? I want to be worshipped like God. That's what Satan's attitude is. Me, 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 me. So, God's trying to beat that out of you. No, I can't have another one. I already got one of those. I don't need another one. So he is trying to produce something in you that is not self-entitled. Right? So, don't harden your heart towards the lessons God has for you. They're tough. They are tough lessons. Nothing, you got to think, right? If I just do my kids' homework for them their entire life, they learn nothing. But if I make them sit there and read until they get it, oh, there's their season. They're going to be on first grade books until they learn how to read first grade books. They won't move to second grade until they can do second grade. It requires work. It's required. There's no other way around it. Right? So, and this should be it right here. Verse 8, for if Joshua had given them rest, then he would not afterward have spoken of another day. Now, understand, we're going back to Moses, right? And all the Israelites did not obey God, so now for 40 years they got to walk around in a wilderness. Who came after Moses? Joshua. Right? But there was no rest after walking around in the wilderness. No, it was immediately, it's time to go to battle and take what blessings God has for you. If you sit down right now and you to do, but if now you say, I am not going to rest until I have reached what God has for me, I'm going to be diligent in what He wants for me. Then the rest comes after that. I tell my boys all the time, you don't want to do the job right the first time, well, there's going to be some punishment. You don't want to work right now because you want to be lazy? That's fine. Here comes the push-ups and sit-ups, fellas. I'll work you. I'll work you till you understand that work is good for you. And if you just do the job right the first time, and you're diligent, and you pay close attention, cut corners and be lazy, you go through with the full plan, it will be better for you in the long run, because now I don't have to teach you a hard lesson. How many times have I been taught a hard lesson by God? I had to do it the hard way. I had to cut corners. I had to force something that shouldn't have been. And what happened? Pow! Smack down. Try again. Do not pass go. Do not collect. Back to the beginning. You're going to have to come all the way back around that board before you get that. That's how that works. Otherwise, we are producing something forever that is not good. That's how evil finds its way in our hearts. Cheating. Cutting corners, right? So, verse 9, there remains therefore a rest for the people of God. It is waiting for you. That's a promise. God has rest for you. But only if you walk the plan out correctly. Otherwise, you're going to sit there in your wilderness, wandering around until you come back to God and say, what was the plan? What was that I was supposed to do again? And you'd be surprised how fast you're reminded. Oh yeah, this is what I need you to do. This is what you're supposed to do. Right? Verse 10. For he who has entered his rest has himself also ceased from his works as God did from his. You finished the lesson. And now you're on to a new season. You're done. You have learned what you're supposed to. Now let it go. Let go of that last season. Let it go.
Even though it was working.
Even though it was working, it from that work for you anymore. I loved video games. Loved them. I can't play them no more. I get bored so fast. Why? Because there's real life out there. God showed me that, and I'll go back and I'll try to play one here or there. I'll put something on my phone. I can't do it. I can no longer do that. Why? Because I'm different now. He has changed me. He took the desire to do those things from my heart and He said, yeah, that ain't you no more. That was holding you back. Gotta let it go. But I had so much fun playing them. I still remember. It was so fun. It was so much fun. Go back to it, try it again. Well, this isn't as fun as I thought it was. This seemed like a waste of time.
Mine wasn't a video game.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I go
We all got that thing. With that said, pay attention to what God has for you in your season so that you can go ahead and move on to bigger, better things. The blessings He has for you, you have no idea how good they are. We can't even think, right? The mind cannot, right, conceive the things that God has stored up for us. Go ahead and try that exercise. Imagine your best day. It's incomparable to what God actually has for you. But you ain't ever going to get there if you don't listen and learn what you got to do now. Right? Danny, if you would, sir, go ahead and pray.
Heavenly Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus. Father, I just ask you to help each and every one of us to have a hunger for your word and your knowledge. Lord, as we go this journey that you put us on, help us to have our spiritual ears open and our eyes, and Lord, look to you for the answers. And Lord, just give us boldness and wisdom as we go down this road. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.